And welcome to another live episode. I am your host, WIZE, and today I have the CEO of People Powered Solutions. Welcome to the show, Lori Duguay. Hello.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
The pleasure's all mine. Thank you for being on. I love having great conversations, so I'm excited.
Awesome.
All right, so Lori, tell us a little something about your background and how you got started in your career.
Okay. By background, I actually worked for corporate. It was a government position for 21 years. Essentially, within the first 5 years, where you're learning the ropes of the job, you're starting to really understand the ins and outs. I was quite happy career-wise. I was okay with that. Then started building a family, and you know what? It was kind of at that same time where I knew my job inside and out. And as I was building my family, it was convenient to be able to not have to invest a lot of brain power and burn a lot of brain calories while at work because I was so consumed in my outside life, right? In my personal life. Then eventually, as my kids got more independent and older, suddenly I started to realize that, okay, I need more challenge for my brain. But I also live in a rural part of Northern Ontario in Canada. And I was part of a satellite office. And part of that meant that to be able to be promoted to any other position, I would have to relocate because this is pre-COVID, before they even knew that virtual work was a thing and remote work was possible. And that it was still the mindset that you needed to be physically in the main office to be able to ascend. So started realizing that, you know what? I still had a good 20 years of career ahead of me. I wasn't going to sit here and coast. So had to decide then and there, what was I going to do in terms of planning my exit strategy? Because evidently within within that organization, there was really no growth for me. Went back to school, did my postgraduate in HR management, labor relations at university. And then while working full time, of course. So that took another 4 years while I completed that, which again, bought me time. I continued to do my work, and it was okay if I wasn't too challenged because I was doing these studies full time on the outside. And then eventually started consulting with clients on the side. And that brings me into the 17-year mark of my career. And it's funny, the minute that I started applying elsewhere, I was consulting and I was applying outside of the government. They got wind of it. And I've seen this so often with some of my coaching clients. The minute these high performers, the minute these high potentials start to shop elsewhere, suddenly these opportunities within that organization tend to open up. It's serendipitous. They suddenly found ways that we could make this work, despite the fact that you're in a satellite office, and we could offer you this, that, and the other position. And so I was able to take on a couple of other roles. And when I finished my career, I was working for corporate by that time, like for the head office, which was the entire province. But it was too little too late. The resentment that had accumulated over those 17 years where they seemed okay with leaving me in that spot and not providing me any other growth opportunities, any other developmental opportunities, my mind was set that there was no other place but an exit for me. So I eventually took a year off leave and tried my business full time and basically developed a business model where I can help create that work environment that I wish I had. I can help organizations and companies do better for their employees. So helping them recreate and look at what their current employee experience is like. So how do people experience their day-to-day work within this company from the moment you're pitching yourself at the interview through to the moment that they're actually leaving your organization? How are you bringing them in? What's that experience like? And then helping rework it to provide those 10 essential employee needs that we all have. They're common amongst all humans. We have 10 employee needs at work for us to want to, not just sit there and occupy real estate, but actually thrive and perform in our jobs. So I've been blessed. I never went back to government. That year turned into 3. Now I've been full time doing this kind of work with organizations and helping create happier, more productive work environments.
So is that what led you to start the People Powered Solutions?
Yeah, that's what people powered solutions, using your people and leveraging the power of those people, of those internal customers, which in my opinion are the most important, even more important than those external customers, and helping, make sure that they're fully tapped and that you're helping coach them to step into their full potential.
So so how do you define what's a positive and productive workplace culture for a company?
Okay, for a company, there's like some really clear signs you can look for, red flags, if you will, that your culture is not productive. Well, number one, loss in loss in revenue. You're seeing
Yeah.
lower production in general. You're seeing a lot more customer complaints. You're seeing a lot more conflict between employees, lots more toxicity and just drama between employees, high absenteeism. So people suddenly are not that invested in their jobs. They're okay with taking all this time off, be it warranted or not. An increase in sick time, an increase in people going off on long-term disability, things like that. So these are all signs and symptoms of the polar opposite of that productive and positive workplace. Now flip it to what are signs of that productive workplace? Your people are sticking around for longer than 1 year. They're around, they're invested, they understand what a difference their work, be it as a frontline worker, they're serving clients at the counter, all the way through to the janitor. They understand how the work they do on a daily basis actually helps the organization achieve their goals. They understand what those goals are. They want to continue growing. They want to continue evolving within that company. They're not shopping around. You're seeing high levels of collaboration and teamwork. You're knocking them out of the park. If to use that analogy, you're knocking every project out of the park because you've got this level of team cohesiveness and just a collaboration that really drives that production.
Okay.
Does that give you an idea? A bit
Yeah.
of a difference between the two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the common challenges organizations face when it comes to creating a positive and productive workplace?
I think a common challenge, be it real or not, is they think it costs a lot of money. They think, I can't offer more money. But I've interviewed so many people who, like me, had resolved in their mind, they had a number in their mind that they were willing to let go of to just be happier at work. So when I was shopping around, I had a 20K kind of wiggle room. I'd said I would take a $20,000 paycheck cut just to be happier and be excited to go to work again. Right. So it's not necessarily because people want more money. I was talking to some teachers this weekend and they've left to work in marketing, one, the other to work in banking. And I was like, wow, you guys have like your long tenured teachers. One had 22 years, the other one had 28 years. She was on the cusp of actually, earning her retirement, her pension. And she says, no, I'm done. I'm done of being passed up for every opportunity. I'm done just feeling like it's the same old, and it's very cyclical. I want out. So the first, I guess, challenge is people think it's going to cost a lot of money to create that positive workplace culture. It doesn't. There's some quick fixes, some quick wins, some low-hanging fruit that they can actually implement within a matter of days that would really improve. I'll give an example of, when someone's the onboarding process, which is my talent management lingo for when you're bringing someone in. You've been hired. Okay, cool. Here's what's going to happen in the coming weeks. And here's where you start. This is your first day. There you go. So many organizations, it's a standard template letter, goes out. Here's you've been hired. Here's where you need to show up. Here's who you report to. See you on day one. And that's like after they've accepted the offer letter. And then it's crickets till the person starts. Why not instead people want to be in the know. People want to know what to expect. There's so many, nervous feelings happening when you're going to start with a new job. You're starting with a new organization. You're coming into an intact team. You're coming into a place where they've already got all their connections, their relationships built internally. So it's intimidating to come in. So as an organization, how can we reduce that intimidation factor? By providing as much information and resources before they even start, right? So I work with clients to develop kind of a systemic here. 2 weeks before, you tell them, we're excited to have you join us. What are 3 things you'd like your colleagues to know? Because we want to make an announcement saying that we're bringing you on board. And then that person feels like, wow, they're already wanting to know about me, and they're giving me a chance to kind of inform how I'm being announced to other people. That's kind of cool. There, I'll give you these 3 lines. And here's a bit of information if you want to learn more about our company before you start. You give them, the website, give them maybe a frequently asked questions document. Here's some of the things we've heard. You give them as much information as you can just to start to get their excitement for the job and for their first day kind of working. Then, 2 weeks, a week and a half before, the manager sends an email saying, hey, welcome to the team. I'm so excited to have you join my team. Here's what you can expect on the first day. And there's kind of a checklist of what they can expect on the first week, as well as in the first month. This is what your training is going to look like. We're excited to have you on board. Looking forward to meeting you on Monday morning. There, that goes out. And maybe we've actually identified a mentor for you. And you're going to be connected with this person who we've included in this email. So if you've got any questions before you get started, you're welcome to ask them. So what you're actually doing is bridging that connection with colleagues that normally, it takes away that intimidation factor that normally you're coming in and you have no idea who's my go-to people, who are my lifelines. You're terrified of asking questions. So how could you make that experience more human, more people-centered, that whole experience of starting a new job? So just a little example of that didn't cost anything. It's a series of emails. It's setting up a relationship. It's stuff that needs to happen anyways. It's just making it more structured and making sure that it's happening consistently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Because in the industry I'm in, we have so much turnaround because there's always someplace else that's treating their employees better, paying more money, giving bonuses. So yeah, believe me, I know what it means, because I've had conversations with coworkers, and a lot of them feel unappreciated. A lot of them feel like management doesn't support them, or doesn't really believe in them, because like they say, like, okay, y'all have made all this profit and you're not sharing us the love. Yet we have other businesses nearby that are
Exactly.
giving their bonus, the employees to do the same thing that we do, bonuses.
Yeah.
And and people see that. People be like, oh.
Absolutely they do. Absolutely. And even to that point is, even if you're going to give a bonus, if you're not doing anything else to make them feel recognized and seen and valued year round, if you're only doing that one bonus a year, it's actually going to bite you. It's going to end up being a dual-edged sword, because it's not going to resonate with them. They're going to see it as a check mark exercise. Here, we've done our due diligence. We've given you your bonus. You better feel recognized after this. But no, if you're not providing feedback regularly, if you're not, helping kind of that feedback flow in all directions, and managers, you're not training your managers on how to provide feedback and telling someone, hey, good job. That doesn't tell the person what kind of behavior needs to be repeated or eliminated. If it's not good job, maybe if it's, hey, missed the mark on that one. Here's what you don't want to be doing again next time, to make sure that doesn't happen again, right? To train that leadership, to train those managers, to provide that valuable feedback, but to create kind of a culture that recognizes and normalizes feedback and recognition at all levels. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. And me, especially because I at my job, I'm what you call a dual rate. So I'm a supervisor at times, and there's regular times that I'm not. And so to be able to walk the line on both sides, and see where we lack in management skills, because I hear it from the employees. I hear it from the people that aren't in management, and they're like, man, how do we have supervisors who don't know their job supervising us?
Yeah, but in the supervisor's defense, I'm not sure which company you work for, but do they provide training, right? Do they
Okay,
give
but
that toolbox? You got to give the toolbox to your leaders, to your managers, to your supervisors. Give them a toolbox and train them so they know what to do with their team members.
oh no, I agree with you 100% because I know there's certain people that weren't trained properly and were pushed through quickly because they
Mhm.
needed supervisors, and
Mhm.
it's not their fault that they weren't trained properly.
No,
But
exactly.
but the brunt falls on them because they're the ones dealing with the employees.
Of course, they're the ones who've got those team members reporting to them.
Yeah.
I've I'm one of my clients. We're building a leadership academy internally, and what it's a very technical company, and so until we got involved with that company, you were promoted to leadership roles because you were the most technically competent. So you were like one of those engineers who really understood engineering. But does that make you a people leader?
Mhm.
No. Did they give them any people leadership training?
Probably
No.
not.
So now we've got a bunch, all of the projects are they're hemorrhaging money and hemorrhaging production because they've got a bunch of very technical leaders who have not been trained on the people side of things. So we're building an academy that's going to, provide them everything they need to be able to internally train their leadership, and not only their existing ones, because everybody's going to be put through this academy, whether you've been in that position for 20 years or you are thinking of maybe stepping into a leadership position. This is the academy. This is the route you need to go. And then once they've got that training in that academy up and running, it's going to be like they're going to have to continue taking courses. Hey, we're talking emotional intelligence. What does that even mean? Okay, all managers, we're assigning you this training. You guys need to take this training. So we're continuously going to be increasing the abilities and the capabilities of managers to manage their people.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. Where it should be that if you train your managers properly, you and show them how to lead,
Mhm.
because you can show people how to lead, and it definitely will help with employee morale because now they understand they're listening to the team, and
Exactly.
instead of like some people take it as boss, but if you can lead them, you can lead people without bossing them around.
Well, absolutely. You should lead people without bossing them around.
But yeah, you should, but it's not a lot of places don't offer that support. That's why you're in business. If it didn't, you
Exactly.
wouldn't be in business.
I know, right? I'm kind of happy that I'm meeting got all these people, all these clients to train and teach them to move away from the command and control. How many times have we heard, throughout my career with government, with even I got all the way down to my teenage years, just do this. Well, why do we do it that way? Because I have naturally a continuous improvement mindset. Like, why do we do it this way? Like, is there any reason, any rationale? Because we've always done it this way. I didn't ask you to question me. I asked you to do it because I said to do it. Really? The younger generations, I dare you to try that one with them because it is a job seekers market right now. And they'll be like, really? You're going to try and command and control me?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
going to have to bid you farewell and I'll step out to that next job, which is, they've got employers lined up now.
No, it is. It's a lot of people have choices. They have it's because not everyone. 'Cause my wife works for a staffing agency,
Okay.
and so sometimes it's hard to fill the quota because some people just that they have other options. They're like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, they have too many options almost. Yeah, but it's a cool place to be because it means that we're at that inflection point, of the world of work where we can actually change the way that we build workplaces, the way that we offer, experiences to our employees. And we can start to really be proactive and think about, the quality of the experience you're offering and then improve accordingly, right?
What sort of initiatives would you recommend to a company that they give their employees?
I would say number one, when's the last time you checked how happy your employees were? Right. So take the time to do a survey or to conduct some exercise that's going to provide them the opportunity to let you know where it is you can do better. Ask them. They're the best source for knowing where it's falling short and where you need to improve. So do the survey. I'll tell you that the top three things that are going to come up is people are going to feel like there's no communication. No
Yeah.
communication. The higher ups make decisions. They never tell us why. That's the top three things that come up is lack of communication. We got bad managers. People don't know, they're not trained, they don't know how to manage their people, they don't know how to manage their projects. We got bad managers, you guys need to train your leaders. And the third one that's going to come up is we don't feel recognized. You brought it up earlier. We feel like there's no recognition for the work we do, and those are the three top complaints that will likely come out from that exercise. And then you can start to figure out, okay, well, how could we increase communication? What might that look like? Maybe we start hosting, we tell all managers they need to have a team huddle or a team meeting at least once a week to here's the plan for the week and give as much information as they're able to give, and then give employees the opportunity to ask questions. Hey, is this clear? Do we all understand what it is we're trying to achieve this week? What's the focus? Where we're investing our energy for the week in terms of work? Are there any questions? No? Okay, then let's divide and conquer. Let's check in with each other maybe on Wednesday to see how we're doing and adjust if we need to. Okay, then maybe there's town halls where you get all that senior leadership, those C-suite folks, those upper management, and you give at least once a quarter, they provide a report on here's what went really well in the company in the past 3 months, in the last quarter. Here's what we want to focus on in the upcoming quarter, and here's our end goal. There's that fence post that we're all working towards, and let's celebrate some of the successes of the past 2 quarters maybe, and highlight some of those successes so people understand, oh yeah, okay, there's a reason we're coming in, and although our job daily feels kind of mundane and repetitive, oh yeah, we have to keep our eyes on the prize. There's a bigger picture out there, right? And maybe that's where you show a video of, I like a reverse service video. So you start with the end user, the client, be it a service or a product, and then you map it out backwards, and you can make it creative with work with the marketing or whoever does your videos, and backtrack that all the way through to that last person to show how many people had a hand in delivering that product or service to the client. And maybe I didn't actually deal with the client at all, but I had to do the invoicing. So you know what? I had a hand in servicing that client and helping people connect and see how they all work together to deliver that service. So that's another way to kind of communicate and provide that clarity of purpose, that clarity of impact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
yeah.
okay. So you had referenced the pandemic and COVID-19, and
Yes.
how much of an impact has that had on what you're doing?
It's been beautiful. I'm one of those weirdos because
Oh no, I I'm I'm a beneficiary. Like, had it not been for the pandemic, I would have never started my podcast. I would have never started my production company. I would have never done a lot of the things that I'm doing now.
exactly.
Had I not got furloughed from my job and
Yeah.
been out of work. Yes, I lost some friends. I love them dearly, and then, but like you said, I'm one of the weirdos. Like, hey, it wasn't all that bad. Like, some
Mhm.
good came from it.
Absolutely. And for me personally, it made a lot of people re-examine their work-life balance. And suddenly, where they had time to pause and reflect and realize that this hustle culture they were living isn't all there is to life. And that's where you've had that. I don't know if you've heard of the Great Resignation.
Yeah,
A lot of like this mass exodus of high talent leaving their jobs to say, no, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this hustle culture anymore. But what that entailed is a bunch of companies who now have to get creative to attract the talent they need. And that's where I come in. So for me, it exploded the demand for services, really. And it made it made people open to the idea of trying something different for in terms of how they're building and how they're structuring their workplace. Where before they would be like, oh, I got no time for that. That's a nice to have, not a need to have. They fail to recognize the cost of not investing in these kinds of things. But I had to convince a lot, right? Whereas then they realize, hey, I'm losing people by the day. I obviously can't continue doing what I've been doing, because if you always do what you always done, then you'll always get what you've always gotten. They know that it's not working anymore. They need to get creative. They say, okay, Lori, you tell me what to do different. You tell me how to fix this. You tell me how to create that unicorn culture that people are going to want to come in and work for. Make me into that place. Okay, let's do it. Then when we approach a project that way, it's beautiful, the things we can make happen, because you've got that senior kind of decision maker who's on board. But when they approach me and they say, explain to me why we need you, right there, I'm thinking, not the mindset I want to be working with. We want to work with those open-minded, forward-thinking companies that realize that this is the wave of the future. So it's been really great. The pandemic has allowed all that to kind of materialize. And I quit my government job during the pandemic. It would have had to, I needed to have a rationale to warrant leaving 21 years of pension and benefits behind, right?
Yeah. And that was the perfect. That's like, yes. I can't go back to work. Yeah, I understand.
No, I'll never go back. And ironically, I've actually been working with a few government clients who, they want to do better for their employees. So it's been kind of this serendipitous opportunity to do better for the future generation of government workers. So it's been kind of cool to be able to help them create those more engaging work environments where, people feel seen, heard, valued, and they see there's room to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you see the future of the work environment evolve in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, especially now with with remote opportunities just popping up everywhere.
Yeah. I think a lot of organizations are going to have to adapt and accept that hybrid work is here to stay, remote work. I say hybrid because a lot of companies are migrating towards this kind of blended model where there's so many hours need to be in the office while so many hours can be from home. I think they're going to have to accept it and structure their workplaces to enable and allow that flexibility. I still see a lot of reluctance, a lot of organizations kind of saying, no, it's done. We're on the tail end. Bring my people back to the office. And I use examples of competitors. I was working with a client and I was trying to explain to the manager, the nature of the work. Why do these people need to be in office? And he's like, well, then I can watch them. And then I know if they're actually doing the work or if they're just talking, they're just, and every excuse he'd give me, I could kind of refute with okay, well, talking, if they're from home, they don't have colleagues walking into their office every, 10 minutes.
So talking,
you're actually minimizing the distractions. Anyways, and I said, that your biggest competitor offers hybrid work. So at one point, you guys are in a small community, you're going to start losing people to the competitor. And I know you're already losing people to the competitor. He's like, well, what am I supposed to do about it? I was like, do you know anybody who works in management at that competitor's? And he's like, yeah. I said, I need you to reach out to them. And I need you to ask him how that hybrid work model has affected and impacted the production. And he called me back and he said, well, that's it. I need to get on board. It's like, why? It's like, their production has almost doubled since they've migrated to this model. I'm like, exactly, because now people are distracted. People are very focused. They're able to organize their time. There's not as much time lost in that transition from one meeting to the next, from one building to the next. Everybody is, in place, and they've just eliminated a lot of the noise that impacted production when you're working in office. So I think that's one of the biggest things that people are going to adapt. I don't think it's going anywhere, but to accept it and then to figure out how to do it in a way that is consistent across your company, that doesn't provide opportunities for some and actually negatively impact others, and how to make sure that you're being highly inclusive. The way that you structure that work environment is going to become really paramount. Um, just, I think that this world of work where, because the pandemic has eliminated any geographical barrier, basically, you can
Yes.
be working. I'm in Northern Ontario, Canada. We still have ice on our lake. I'm not even exaggerating. I could turn my camera and you'd see it. I'm far, but it's eliminated that. It's enabled me to broaden my scope of impact. Well, people are going to realize that, and they're going to start shopping everywhere for
Oh,
jobs.
it's been amazing. I've interviewed people all over the world, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity had it not had this explosion where people were feeling much more comfortable recording from home. So
Exactly,
it,
exactly.
it it's helped me connect with so many amazing people
I
because
agree.
now this is the norm now. This is
This
what
is the new
people
norm.
yeah,
Exactly.
this is the norm.
This is
People
it.
want to do remote recordings. People want to do so it's I get to do this from the comfort of my home. I get to learn in the process, speaking to amazing people like yourself.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, I love this.
It's win-win. I
Yeah.
know. I agree. You will not get any arguments from me. I love it. And like I said, I couldn't, my scope of impact was so small before. I could only talk with people who lived up here in Northern Ontario, basically.
Yeah.
But now that, with those kind of barriers just gone, the sky's the limit, literally, right? It's pretty awesome. That was super cheesy, I'm aware.
So, what are some of the things you do to continue to develop your own skills and knowledge base?
I am an eternal scholar. I like to, I'm always reading, I'm always researching. I commit to taking one training, a course per year. That's my rule. Some developmental opportunity that's more structured, to grow my skill set, to grow my capabilities at least annually. So last year I became a coach. I got my coaching certification. The year prior to that, I took a it was a certification for a specific assessment tool, and I wanted to be able to administer the assessment tool, so I took the certification for that. So yearly I try to take that. I attend conferences as well. Not only, that's kind of a win-win when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because you're growing your network as well, and helping spread your message, but also connecting with people that there might be synergies for you to collaborate on future projects with. When you're a solo entrepreneur, it's great to grow that network of people that, if someone comes to you and says, "So do you do this? Could you do this for me?" Yep. That was early on. I learned in my career, you say yes, and then you figure out which
Yeah.
people to bring in to be able to deliver on that promise, right? So attending conferences, but even then, while you're attending the conferences, there's some really cool developmental opportunities that might help you see where you want to continue to grow, where you want to continue to stretch, right? Oh,
Mhm.
that didn't come quite as naturally to me. Or for me, it's anytime I get like a sense of, it almost feels like jealousy. Someone's doing something and it almost feels like jealousy, but then when you dig a bit deeper, you realize that it's because it's admiration, it's veiled admiration, that you wish you could be doing that. So to stay aware of those moments, those trigger moments, and to say, okay, what is it I'm feeling like I could be doing more of? And then planning accordingly. Okay, what might that look like? How can I get that developed further, right?
Yeah.
So I think conferences and just continuous education, making sure I'm taking on a variety of projects. I'm actually going to be launching my own podcast shortly. Always growing. I'm never done. I'm writing a book. It's launching this summer. A year ago, it was an idea. And a year later, I'm launching my book and I'm already thinking about the second. So just to continuously never decide you're done. Always figure out what's that next step going to look like.
So I know why I do podcasting. What has made you want a podcast?
Um, it is about, I can only talk to so many clients.
Yeah.
I have a mission. I am passionate about creating a better world of work,
Yeah.
creating happier workplaces. I want to talk to more people that say, "Oh my God, you should hear what my employer does. It's so awesome." But right now, I talk to about 95% who say, you have no idea how incompetent my company is
Yeah.
when it comes to their people management.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to just rely on my client interactions to gauge how well I'm doing in terms of creating that impact, it's going to be kind of minimal. But if I continue to grow things like a podcast, a book, I'm just broadening that scope of impact, and I'm making that my impact can go from being very localized here in Northern Ontario to suddenly becoming global if I can, and be able to. My book is literally a guide that they can implement. This is their how to do this. How to do better for your employees is not the name, but it's essentially what it is. And so they'll be able to take that and give it to their people and say, okay, you read this and let's make a plan. So right there, oh, there's a few happier workplaces once they've read that book. And so that's the podcast and the book are all about broadening my scope of impact.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you're launching the book
Yeah.
this summer.
Yeah.
Is that something you've always wanted to do? Is write a book?
I always knew I had one in me.
Yeah.
I honestly had no clue what it was going to be about.
Okay.
Like no clue. And I used to always say, I'm going to write a book one day. And my friends would be like, oh yeah, on what? No clue. That hasn't come to me yet. Stay tuned. And then last year, as I was developing my methodology and working with clients and kind of, I'm seeing patterns. This is always the same story. It's always the 10 same needs. And there's always, that same approach that I take with clients. But I can only take on so many clients. So I'm going to look if there's not a book that exists that tells people how to create that culture. Couldn't find it. I found everything that talks about how to motivate, how to create, how to get your what motivates employees, what causes, low engagement, how do you get higher engagement? But they didn't really say, now what? Take this information and this is what you need to do within your company. And I wanted to write the now what. So that's the manual that I wrote.
Awesome, man. This has been great. I've had a good time speaking to you. Now it's the time where you get to you get the solo screen and you get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find you, websites, let them find out when the book is coming out,
Sure.
everything, and the podcast as well.
Okay. Awesome. So if you want to connect and continue the conversation, you're welcome to check out my website, Be People Powered. So that's BBE, peoplepowered.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Lorianne Duguay, as well as People Powered Solutions. I'm also on Twitter, TikTok, just very recently, and Instagram. Just check us out, People Powered Solutions. The book is set to launch this summer. We don't have the actual launch date yet. The podcast will be launching next week, if all goes well. And it's going to be called the People Powered Solutions Podcast. So expect to get some expert tips on how to continue to evolve and improve on that employee experience you offer to your employees.
So is your podcast going to be audio or is it going to be audio and video?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. So YouTube, I'll put there'll be video uploaded to YouTube. And then the audio part will be, deployed to all the different platforms.
So what are you using to go to stream live?
Okay.
To record, basically.
To record, it's going to be Zooms. They're just going to be Zooms. Yeah, and the Zoom will create a separate audio file, so I'll be able to. My podcast production company will be able to put those together and do their editing and do everything, the show notes and all that fun jazz.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's all new for me. Seriously, I am just learning. I don't even know what works, what doesn't. It's all research. That's my development this year is all relevant to having to understand how to do these podcasts.
Oh, believe me, it was all a learning experience for me. I started with Zoom. I use StreamYard now, but it's different ones. There's different ones for everyone. It's whatever you feel comfortable using. And with time, you're just gonna improve. You're gonna realize like, oh, maybe I'm gonna switch this. So it all comes with time.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue to what I was doing when I started. I didn't know anything about SEOs. I didn't know anything about
So this is
descriptions,
reassuring. This is
thumbnails.
reassuring.
No, listen, this was all new to me. I wasn't in media. I had, when I started, I listened to Joe Rogan and certain other podcasts, but I wasn't really, didn't know anyone who was doing podcasts,
Mhm.
didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and here we go, what, 3 years later, and I have a successful podcast. I have some wonderful guests come on, but it took me wanting to grow and learn, and just like taking courses,
Yeah.
YouTube has become
I was gonna
something.
say YouTube is like your friend.
Oh yeah, it's a tool that it's a tool to use to help you develop and grow.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a different time now. Like, you have so much access to so much knowledge to help you
You
grow and
know,
develop.
you don't have to go to the library. I'm totally gonna date myself. Don't have to go to the library, pull out the encyclopedias. Like
They don't know. Some
everything
people don't
is
know what
already
encyclopedias are. They don't even know what encyclopedias are. They don't know what reference cards are. Any of those things.
they don't know the thing.
We are dating ourselves. Yes, we are. But these kids have it easy. They don't know what it was to go look in reference cards to see where your book was at and all. Yeah, no, they don't. They have it easy. It's
They hadn't
everything.
updated it, but they moved the book, but they didn't update the card.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yes.
No, and it's true that there's no excuse these days. There's so much information out there that if you want to learn or know something, there's always sources online or people you can speak to figure it out. There's videos. There's so many YouTube videos out there to help you kind of walk you through it. That I think there's no reason anymore to stop yourself from doing something for that fear of not doing it right. Hey, you just
Something you touched on was you go to conferences, you go to all these different. That was I had to. I went to Podfest 2 years in a row, and it showed me that networking was key. Like,
yeah,
the networking I've done the past 2 years at Podfest have been amazing. The
yeah,
relationships I've been able to build from attending these conferences and being able to build these relationships has helped me. It's just been it's just been a blessing to be able to connect with so many people that are willing to help you grow.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Yep.
But thank you so much, Lori. This has been great. Don't leave just yet. I'm
Yeah.
gonna close out the show, but we'll chat a little bit offline. And but it was wonderful having you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, so now it is time for me to get the solo screen and close it out. All right, thank you everyone who tuned in. Facebook user, I don't know who it is, I can't tell. I'll probably go back and see later on. But thank you for coming by. Shout out to everybody out there who tuned in. Appreciate it. Shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady. Love you. I'm looking forward to our weekend getaway for Mother's Day. Oh, and happy Mother's Day to every mother this weekend. Um, Even though I know it's just Monday, I still got two more live shows to go. And big shout out to, as always, to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. And you know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.